Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock p.m. here, Monday night, August the 16th, and I am so excited. I've got Rae Luskin here with me. Hello, Rae.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
I'm excellent. Glad to be here. Very excited about this show, and I'm so glad that you could take the time and be on the show.
I'm privileged. I mean, everything I've heard and seen about the work you're doing, I encourage and applaud you, and I'm going to share my story with you. So
that's awesome. That is just so awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. And I know I had a few people tell me they were going to try to be here. The chat room is open, and we're going to be on for an hour. So, everybody can sit back and relax. This is going to be a very informal, just nice chat, and we're just going to take our time and really enjoy ourselves here. This is great. So, yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. This is wonderful. This is a candid interview, with Rae Luskin, and it's really geared towards healing and wholeness for, adult survivors of child abuse or abuse of any kind, whether it be domestic violence or, sexual assault, just any type of abuse that a person might go through. I'm sure that it'd be very helpful. So this is going to be very good for me. I've got my note. I was just telling Rae a few minutes ago that I've got my notebook ready with my pen and my paper, right? Because I want to write this stuff down. So any good ideas that she's got, I'm going to be writing them down. Yeah, so this is great.
Well, I'm really happy to help. Yeah. Now, I know you always put out before you say that you're not a therapist. Well, I am not a therapist either. I have just studied a long time and gone through many workshops and et cetera. So I just want to put that out.
That's what I do every time. Yeah, I always tell people because it's very important to people know. I feel like the truth is very necessary all the time. So, I don't want people thinking I'm a qualified therapist or counselor, when I do my morning shows, one child abuse survivor to another, especially because I do talk a lot about that stuff. And, yeah, I'm not a qualified counselor or therapist either, and I just like to bring out information that I find that's very helpful and useful for me. So I know that this show is going to be very helpful for many people because there's so many people suffering, so many people who have, maybe tried a number of things and, found that it just wasn't helpful for them. So I know every time we hear a show like this or you hear some information like this, you think, wow, I've never tried that, or, I never heard of that, or, something like that. And you think, oh, it's just another idea. It's another resource for people. So I think it's great. So I think it's wonderful. So, yeah, you can, if you want to, you can maybe just, even for myself, just tell us a little bit about what you do and what your focus is, what you've been doing with yourself, and a little bit about yourself. That'd be great.
Well, do you want me to start a little bit with my backstory? Would that be helpful to sort of tell you where I come from and, what my experience was?
Yeah.
I think that would probably sort of give set it up, all right?
Yeah.
I guess what I want to start with is to ask everybody out there, was there ever anybody special in your life who just told you you were wonderful, made you feel like you were the best? They always applauded you, appreciated, respected you, and they were there for you. Well, that was my Gramps. We had this special bond from the time I was a little girl. He taught me to walk. He taught me to play softball. He was an artist. I was an artist, and we shared a lot. And then one day, it all changed. I mean, all of a sudden, he broke the promises and the trust and everything we had built up. And as I said, he was an artist, and on Saturday afternoons, we had a special day. We would go to his art studio, my sister and I, and we would walk in the studio. And to this day, I can still smell the turpentine. I can see the table filled with wonderful colors and brushes, and I could hear the music in the background. And so he would set me up at the easel, and it was wonderful. I mean, I loved to paint. I had this big smile on my face, and I'd paint for a while, and then when he, when I was done, I'd go sit on the couch with him and play gin rummy, and my sister would go and, work on a canvas. And so that's what we did. And, and then one day, like I said, it all changed. He used to rub my back, and that was fine. And then one day he put his hand, he started to touch my breast, and I said, Gramps, that tickles. And I wiggled away, and then he whispered in my ear that how special and wonderful I was. And then he resumed stroking me in places that, he shouldn't have. And it went on from there. And then he, and I said, but Gramps, and then he wanted me to touch him. And And he'd say, but Rae, you're so special. You're wonderful. I love you. And you know what? And so I let him touch me. These were private places. I was a little girl. I was about 7 or 8 years old, and it went on, and and then he had me, do some other things. And when he was all done, he would go and wash his hands, and he'd give me this candy that was my favorite candy. He'd say, take as much as you want, and this is our little secret. And for me, it was. I never told a soul. I acted out, and no one ever asked me why. But, and so the journey went on. I didn't tell anybody, but when I turned, I was this great drama queen. I mean, I pretended. I always smiled, and I was happy, and everybody thought I was wonderful, and my life was peachy, and then I went to college, and I was like on the verge of a breakdown. I mean, I was either manic or depressed. I was writing death poetry. I was like a junior in college. So I decided, okay, the end of my junior year, I went home and I quit school and I went into therapy for the first time.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and it's like all those years I just held it together and I never told a soul, which is many of us. And, they say 30% of, people who've been abused never tell anybody ever. Yeah. So I was not, but you have to go on. And so I went into therapy for the first time, and I found an individual therapist, and then I went into group, and I was extremely shy. You would not have known me then. I didn't say a word. I sat in group for 6 months, and I finally said, Gramps used to give me chest rubs. And then it was like I didn't say anything for 3 months. And you know what? Right. No one asked me why. Just the same thing as like when I acted out in the, when I was younger and, I was gaining weight. No one asked me why. I'd be angry all the time. No one would ever ask me why. So it was a sort of a pattern in my life. So that was my first foray into therapy, and I spent about 3 years in therapy, traditional talk therapy, and I got healthier enough that I found a wonderful guy. I got married, and we started a family. But it wasn't... I didn't know at the time there would be a third person in bed with us all the time. I'd be having flashbacks and triggers, which many of us do, and so I started to go back into therapy. Then I also, had children, and I was worried I was going to be a child molester. I wasn't. It affected my parenting skills tremendously. I was like this... I was so hypervigilant about my children. I mean, I wouldn't let them out of my sight. I was scared all the time. What was going to happen? I worried about every little thing. And so, I was in therapy and, quote, I was surviving. I looked normal on the outside. I did everything right. I worked part-time. I took the kids to all the practices and the, events and activities. But you know what? My life was not fine. I felt like a fraud all the time. I walked around with this gray mist in front of my eyes, and I was just like, oh, my God, I can't live like this anymore. I mean, there was no joy. It was, that's all I can say. Everything in my life was black and white. There were no colors. And as an artist, you want color in your life,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So I started more on a different journey. This is about 12 years into talk therapy, at this point. I've been going, and it's like, okay, I'm not getting any better. I'm not growing and changing. I'm stuck. And so what did I do? I decided I have to start exploring other modalities, other things. I became a self-help junkie. You had said to me that, you haven't had formal therapy and you've been doing this path. I probably read over 1,000 books. And I was the person who not only read the books, I wrote, I journaled, I did every exercise in the book. Right. And I needed to know what the hell was going on and how to fix it and change it and, and move on. And so I went to all these self-help programs, workshops. I traveled around the country. There was Body and Soul. There was this, there was that. And I went to weekend workshops. I did everything I could possibly think of. I joined 12-step programs, for incest survivors. I did everything and anything. And that was I think for me it was that passion, that curiosity, that willingness to be adventuresome really got me to a really good place in my life. And then I started, more. But it was like, okay, then again, I reached a plateau. I guess I look at healing, it's sort of like a spiral, sometimes up, sometimes down. I don't see it as a continuum of, you begin and you end. Now,
that's right.
There are some lucky people who feel that way, but that was not me.
That's right. I've heard people have told me that they've been able to do that, and that's wonderful. For me, it's more of an up and down thing, and I've talked to people that it seems to be that way too, just more of an up and down thing, like spiraling instead, up and down instead of just straight across a plane where you just slowly, gradually work towards your healing, and there's really not a whole lot of ups or downs. It's just steady on. It hasn't quite been that way for me. I know.
As time goes on, you also know that, I suffered from severe depression, and there were days, weeks, I could barely get out of bed and take get my kids off to school, so I did a lot of work, I did gratitude lists, I did wells every day. I did wells. I brushed my teeth, I washed my face, and I got my kids to school. And in some days I repeated that for weeks, that's I had to do, and then doing
the daily things, just trying to get up and get out of bed and do the normal things,
Right, and so now, as my journey went on, and I say it's a spiral, I know things happen, and I will still get a flashback or a trigger sometimes, but I know I'm not stuck in that path. It's for a moment, it's for an hour, it's maybe two, but it's not weeks and months like it used to be,
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I want to tell the people who are out there that there is hope. There is hope beyond the pain that you're experiencing at the moment. But one of the things that really, and probably the biggest tool for me was the arts. I got a great therapist who actually started telling me, draw your feelings, draw it, because it took out of me, I could express things through my drawing that I couldn't express in words. I didn't have the words. Plus, I really believe that we experience everything in a somatic way, that things are hidden in our cellular structure, and then we have to get it out of our body. And so art was perfect for me. So I started with a lot of scribbles and doodles, the pain, the anger, whatever. And then I gradually started painting. These big paintings about, these ugly old men, and I'd be this innocent little girl. And, so I really got into the depths of despair at times. I got into, sometimes my paintings would have three heads when I felt like I was going crazy, or, multiple, I thought I had multiple personalities. I just didn't know what to do with myself,
Yeah.
So I think those are some of my biggest tools, and it's served me well over the years, because I could also mark how I changed and grew, because as I started to heal, my palette, my colors changed from black and white and muddy colors, then to vibrant, bright colors, and So for me, it's been great, and I really believe in the expressive arts, whether it's dance, music. I've sort of explored a lot of these things, and I think it's been wonderful for me. So
that is really cool. That is very cool. I like that. So what you're talking about there, so many people, obviously, sadly, have been there. We're just a couple of them out of millions of, survivors, especially of child sexual abuse, right? And it's like, that's just it. I love what you had to say there. There's hope beyond the pain. You you'll still have a flashback here and there. That's like me. I hope everybody will hold on. Because for me, I'm about in the same boat. I don't have the same feelings attached to those flashbacks. So when I do have a flashback, it doesn't affect me like it used to. It used to be completely devastating, and it would just keep me trapped, in this feeling of despair and this feeling of just blackness, just darkness, it's surrounding my life. And now, because I kind of just started my healing journey, probably about my real healing journey just within the last maybe 2 years,
Wow.
Yeah, it's been just recent, like the last 3.5 really.
Really made incredible strides. What have you used that's really made for you?
I think for me, was I really had to sit down. I did a lot of thinking. I took a whole year basically to myself, and I didn't do really much of anything. I was I'm into the Bible. I love the Word of God, and I'm a Christian. And I was born again 3.5 years ago, and I just before that, prior to that, I was sitting on the couch thinking, I was just wondering like when I would ever be out of this pain. So this is recent. I was 41 years old, and I thought, here I am again, sitting here on the couch with this same pain that I've been in for so long. Like, how long do I have to take this? How long can I take this? Just feeling a very much that was all it was going to be, and I was never going to be able to get out of that pain. And I finally realized that. Well, I talk about it a lot on my shows, because it's so interesting how it happened. I just sat back and I thought, why, I was kind of contemplating suicide, and I was thinking if I didn't do that, I was just going to self-harm, and I was going to injure myself. And I thought, I got to stop this, because I said, why am I doing this to myself? I actually had to sit down and think about it, first of all, why I was doing it. And then by doing that, it kind of forced me to take a look at the whole thing. I spent a lot of time looking at the abuse and really focusing on the whole picture instead of just bits and pieces of it and parts of it. It did take me it's taken me this long to get where I am today, but it was, I think for me, writing was very important. I started to write a blog last October, and it just started coming out, and after work, I would just come home and it would just flow. I wouldn't even have to edit it. I would just put it in there on Blogger and just publish it. And it just needed to come out, I think that was a big help for me, to get that out of my system. It needed to come out. And probably because of what I'm doing, I think the reason I'm having maybe a little easier, I don't know why one survivor has a better time, an easier time than another. I think it all varies. There's many reasons for it, just in the studies that I've done. But, for me, I think because I'm so, committed to stopping child abuse, I think it's given me a new lease on life. It's given me a purpose. It's given me something to fight to stay alive for. You know what I mean? And to realize just how really, truly blessed I am to be here. And to, there's so many children who are killed at the hands of their parents and caregivers and don't get the chance, and I thought, what better thing can I do but to try to give back and try to help someone else, you know what I mean, as well as help myself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think writing's been a big part of it. Talking, I know for me, I didn't haven't joined any group therapy or anything like that. What I did do was join a couple of group adult survivor groups that were online support, right? Mm-hmm. And I like that because I was able to talk to people for the first time who were not just sympathetic but empathetic. They had been there. They had experienced it. They were like, we know what you've been through. You just have to hold on, and you just have to, just keep moving at your own pace. And, they were that was the first time I ever had that kind of support. And that was, not quite a year ago, but almost a year ago. And so, yeah, it was very, very helpful for me. So I like that. I haven't, other than that, mainly just sticking real close to the Bible and to, which I know is my truth. And, it brings me peace. It brings me happiness. And just the thought that I talked about this quite a bit on my blog talk shows at the very beginning when I first started them last November. The fact that I had just so much hatred in my heart, for what had happened. I had a lot of hatred and anger in my heart for what had happened. Not really hating my parents, because I realized that I loved them, and I loved my family. But I hated what had happened. I hated the destruction of our family, and so I was carrying this around all the time, a lot of hatred and anger. And once that was kind of pushed out, and all this love kind of came into my heart, this love and this compassion. And I thought, I don't have to hate. I don't have to carry that anger and that rage with me anymore. I can push it away. I can bring in, and I would sit here and visualize, love coming in, Yeah.
How did you push it away? I guess I always look for the process that people go through.
Yeah,
and
people have asked me that.
My stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, people have asked me that quite a bit. Actually, what it was is I was spending a lot of time by myself, and just reading the Bible and listening to a lot of Christian material, and really, I would say meditation mainly. It was probably a form of meditation. I would just sit there and just allow myself to just breathe and just push away that negativity and allow this feeling of love to come in. And I was thinking, this is so good. I'm feeling so much better. Love in my heart. I don't have to carry that. I don't have to. I don't have to be in unforgiveness. I can forgive. I can I can get through this. I can move forward, And yeah, I think it was just a lot of self affirmations and just working on allowing myself to feel love, because I knew what love was. You know what I mean? It's just I had chosen to carry a lot of negativity around because I was just hurting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so many of us have been there. So, it was an awesome transformation, because I was, one day sitting on the couch thinking I should just end my life and self-injure, and then the next day I was thinking, oh my God, thank God, I'm free.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I know for me, I had to do a lot of anger work. I really had to actually get the anger out. I was terrified of my own anger and rage. And so there were some exercises, some physical things that I actually did. I took this, I went to what I called my anger lady, and it's William Reich's work was, he did this work, and she had a padded room, mm-hmm. where she had mattresses on the wall, the floors, everything. She had bats and all these things, and she'd give you breathing exercises, and then times she'd tell you to have a tantrum, and you'd be beating the crap out of the wall, and allowing that anger to surface.
Right.
And then, she would sit with you, and we would do some meditations and things about, releasing the anger, things like that. And then I'd take it home with me as well, because I was so afraid of my own rage that I would either harm someone else or harm myself. So right. I had to go through the layers of the anger. And I always laugh, my son went through his angry period at 16 and punched a hole in the wall, and I said, oh my God, I got to do something about this. So I bought him a punching bag, and I put it in the basement, and I think he used it 3 times. But I took a metal bat, and I'd go down there and I'd swing at this thing, and right. I'd be beating the crap out of it. But oh, what a release. I'm telling you.
I like that.
I was so scared of my own anger, I didn't know what to do with it. And one of the, and it's like when I do some workshops periodically, and I talk about, well, what creative ways do you let out anger? And some people throw plates, and then, or they take ice and they, get a big thing of ice and they hammer it away. Right. There are some things that you can do. There's some actual physical releases that people have done. And I always I have this long list, I've collected over time, and it's sort of fun when you think about it. You can take clay and pound it.
I've heard that. I like to work with clay.
It is. It's fun. And I've done this exercise, too, with people, is you make a volcano out of clay, okay? So you've spent time pounding it and stuff. You make a volcano, and then you get vinegar and baking soda, and you pour it in there, and it will bubble over. So it's like this way of getting to see how your anger can explode, but in a safe way.
Right. Yeah, it sort of just helps people to put things, it's just another way to look at it, to allow ourselves to deal with it, to feel it, to see it. Yeah.
Right. I was always very much, I have to feel it and see it and touch it and be in my body. It can't just be an intellectual thing for me. I really had to go through this. Yeah. And so
I understand it. Yeah. I do. Because I have the same issues. I want to beat and pound on things too, but I have 2 pets, and I'm always concerned that I'll scare my pets, and so I don't do it, as much as I'd like to. I'm like, some days I just want to grab a pillow and just beat the crap out of it, but I don't, because I know my pets are very much affected by my behavior, so I stay very calm. I actually tried to take karate lessons for that very reason, because I wanted to learn how to be able to, not to beat up on people, to be able to physically let that release, come out, right?
Right. And, I love it. I think that's great. There's actually a group of, it's not karate, but it's, I don't know, I forgot, it's one of those kind of martial arts things for kids that they have, and they've won awards as peace offerings, because they've taught the kids to talk about, the 5-finger approach, where they go in and they have to start talking about it and acknowledging it, and being angry and violent is the last resort, and it's only in a self-defense thing. So it's this whole process of creating peace within themselves, and it's like, it's a cool thing, Mm-hmm. So I really love that you do that, or wanted to do that, because I think it's really important, to to do that. And
yeah, I did it for a while. I took karate for a while. I couldn't keep up with it because my ankle was just, my leg and my ankle was just too messed up.
yeah.
And so it was too painful, unfortunately, because I really liked it. I was into it big time. I had my, my karate outfit, and I mean, I had the whole thing, right? I just loved it, but couldn't do it. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it even for the short time that I did it. It was really cool. And I had a hard time because, see, I wanted to be able to, like, even when you have to do when you're actually doing the hits and the guy has the whole full body armor on, right? Because he doesn't, since you don't hurt him, and you're doing your punches and stuff like that. I had the hardest time doing that because, and I'm sure it's just because the way I was brought up. You know what I mean? I just, I'm so afraid that it would hurt somebody, or that, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that's just because I'm so hurt and so wounded. I can't deal with hurting people. You know what I mean? So I had a hard time. I wanted to actually kind of be able to overcome that, you know what I mean, a little bit, And there was a lot of reasons for it, and it was kind of interesting to go through the process. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I took a self-defense class that was similar to that, and on the day of the class, where you're physically, doing the same thing that you're supposedly, with the attacker, I had hurt myself, so I couldn't do it. But they had a component that was just the screaming part and the yelling, and again, that's another way to release anger. I mean, it's very.
For sure.
I was terrified to scream. We weren't allowed to even slam a door in my house or say, I hate you, okay?
Right.
So there was none of that. So for me, I built it up, and then I got into incredible primal scream. But I would wait. I lived on the railroad tracks, and so I would wait until the train would go by because I thought my neighbors would call the police thinking I was killing my kids.
Right.
A loud, painful, horrible scream,
Yeah.
But it is another way to release, and it's very powerful, And
It is.
I'll be driving down this, the highway, and sometimes I just start screaming at the top of my lungs,
That is so cool. That's the thing. I wanted to do that. I was talking about that on my show not too long ago. Maybe it was on the weekend, and I was saying I had this scream that was inside of me that was it needed to come out. I still haven't let it out, right? But I was actually afraid to let it out because I thought I'd never be able to come back. Like, once I actually let it out, I was thinking, will I ever be able to come back from that? I don't know. Psychologically, it's really, it's pretty hard on people, but it's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to go into a field somewhere where nobody would think I was being killed or killing someone out in the middle of nowhere, right? And just scream my head off, you know what I mean? That I know that would be such a good release,
it was so intense.
Someday I can still plan on doing it.
I have to tell you, I mean, I probably screamed the first time I went to this woman who had me do this primal scream, first this one therapist, and she taped it so that I could then take it to my normal therapist, that I had gone to. And so when I played this back, I must have screamed at the top of my lungs for at least 10 or 12 minutes. I couldn't believe how long I could keep screaming. And then by the end of it, I had no voice left, because I had never had anything like that. But then the energy that reverberated in my body was amazing. I mean, it was like, oh my, I was so energized. I mean, I was drained, but there was a different kind of energy within me. I mean, I was physically exhausted, but I was free. There was
a release, of that voice and that scream that needed to come out. That is so awesome. I know I was talking to another friend of mine was saying not too long, I won't name names, but a friend of mine was saying that, she would like to do that too. She's like, I need to go and scream my head off. And I'm like, I want to do that too. We should go together sometime. But she lives in the UK, so I need to get over there first, right? But I mean, I know so many people have this, like you're saying, this primal scream. And,
there was a therapy like that in the 70s that was very popular, and people did it. And somehow it got out of favor. I don't know. We came back to being more ladylike, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Could be. Maybe thinking, well, there's different ways to handle it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It sounds good to me. But yeah, that's very interesting. It is so interesting to take a look at that for sure. That's the thing. If you're not allowed to express that, if you're not allowed to as a child to express how you're feeling, or if you're angry and you're not allowed to express it, and you're not allowed to, it just gets pushed down inside of you, pushed down, and until you just explode. I was kind of covering a little bit of that on my show this morning regarding shame and toxic shame and all that, and that's like part of it. It's hard on people, and if you don't like you're saying, if you don't find a way, whether it's self-help or just through art, like art, dance, music, therapy of some
dance
kind.
is very powerful. I mean, it's movement. It doesn't even have to be dance. It can be movement. Put on something with a strong beat and just allow yourself, to get into that moment. And,
I do a lot of that. Yeah. Just on my own. Yeah.
Me too. I mean, I'll turn it on, and then some days I'll be, beating my bed, with my hands, and then I'm moving and I'm doing, and I'm like, it's really powerful. I think what helps me too is then after the movement, sometimes I'll actually draw whatever that experience was in some form, and then write about it. So then I've used all these different senses and all these different pieces of me, and it's like it takes it to another level, and then.
Right.
So that I can name it and claim it almost, It's not just that movement, it is this, and it's like I'm writing about it, and it's like, I can't believe that even came out of me, because sometimes you're just not even conscious of it.
Right. That's the thing, and especially using the two together, just drawing, you would get one set of drawings, right? Just from drawing, but with the movement and the pounding of the bed and the jumping around or whatever, and then drawing, you would get a whole nother set of drawings, right? That's really interesting for sure. I've never even thought of that. No, I have. This is why I'm making notes. Actually, I'm taking notes.
Her name is Anna Halprin, and her daughter, they started a place called Tampala Institute for Dance and Movement in California. And I took a workshop with them, and they do that a lot. They will have you, dance first, and then they have you draw and write, and then sometimes they actually have you draw and write and then dance your feelings. So, I mean, I went out there, and when I took this workshop, I was having a lot of pain in my arms and shoulders and stuff, and I can picture myself moving as if I was this big bird with eagle wings, and they were being clipped because of the pain and anger I was holding on to. And once I released them, I was like floating in air. I was like an angel. So the change was so drastic, and I'm not an expert in any of these, but I've tried a lot of different things, and I think it's really, and so if you're starting, and a lot of times we have, as survivors have a lot of physical aches and pains. So I think it's a great way, name it. Say, oh, my God, this really hurts today, and have a dialogue with that part of your body, and then try and move it, and see if something else happens and transforms because of it. And you will, a lot of times we have these energy blocks in our body because of what's happened. And so once you start doing that, it's like, wow, this is another kind of release, so.
That is interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of physical damage to my body from so far back. It's and many different things, not just the abuse that I suffered as a child, but also that was the first of it, and then 2 car wrecks that were really quite bad. And so I'm just, kind of, I'm held together. It's great. But, the thing is, it is painful sometimes, and a lot of my memories are body memories from the abuse, so a lot of I have some pain in my back and whatnot, and of course, because it hurts, it brings back I flash back to the memories, right? Because I know what caused that, right? So that bothers me because it bothers me almost every day, but I don't really, I'm not into taking a lot of pills, and I'm just dealing with things, right? So, I did enough drugs when I was young, right? I talk a lot about that, and, I'm facing it now instead of running from it, right?
Right. Well, you can actually, Lucia Cappuccioni, she's done a lot of work with body dialoguing, to heal yourself, and then she's really good, and so she will have you do exercises starting with, draw the stick figure basically, and where's the pain, and you talk to the pain, and use your non-dominant hand when you're writing, so you're having this dialogue with yourself in a different way. Yeah. So that, one of hers is Lighten Up Your Body, Lighten Up Your Life is one of her books. And, I'm not sure. And then there's, it's the Well-Being Journal that she has. So it's wonderful when you have to start dialoguing with that kind of stuff and talking to the pain and what's it trying to tell you and what do you need to do to release it and, that kind of thing. And then, and everything is with your non-dominant hand. And sometimes it's sort of like then scribble and doodle your feelings out. It's that same thing. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is so good. I'm writing all this down. I've got it.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be checking these books out, let me tell you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Hers, she's done wonderful work, and then we can talk another day about all her other stuff, because she does a lot of things on the other end with visualizations and and creating the positive parts of our lives, and
Right.
so I like that. So
yeah, that is cool. Absolutely. Well, this is the thing, see, and I mean, I'm still very much, people have asked me just over the last year or so, especially doing a lot of the work with Dream Catchers for Abused Children. I've had a few interviews, and I've had some people talking to me and that I were curious to find out if I thought survivors could ever fully heal. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's a hard question, because I mean, I don't want to sit there and say, oh yes, everybody can heal, because I'm still working on my journey myself. But then again, I don't want to say not ever, because it's just not possible, because I don't believe that. So for me, I just like to think that possibly, we can keep working towards what is going to make us feel better. And I think we have to, anybody, even people who have not survived, who were not abused as children, people who were, people who just normal, everyday, average people have things happen to them, you know what I mean, that they need to work through. And we all can work towards this, this feeling of healing and wholeness, like this is what this show is about. And
right.
I think, we all have to work through it at some point in our lives, with, grief and sorrow and sadness. You don't have to have been abused to suffer grief and sorrow and sadness and pain, you know what I mean? So I know, I like to think, yes, that healing is eventually, a doable thing, you know what I mean? I don't know if everybody would be ever completely healed. I don't even know if I will be. But I like to be positive. So I'm very much a positive person. So I always say, well, I hope so. That's my hope, And I know that as long as people still look for it, like yourself, you've tried so many things and you've done so many things, and because you're so curious as to what could really help you. Like, you just seem to be a very curious person, a person who wants to know, and a person who needs that information and wants to find out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And there's so many different aspects to it. It's like I'm making notes to myself. It's like, because we were going to run out of time way before we can get to all our subjects,
Right.
loss and grieving, and I do all these exercises,
right.
and I actually would love to do them the next time maybe we get together, because it would include some meditation and some actual instruction and things like that, because I have some great exercises on that. And the same thing with forgiveness, because we touched on it. It's a huge piece, and I'd love to share those things, but again, some of it takes time, but one of the things that you said that I really admire is how you've taken service. And I think service is part of the healing process. It is being of service, taking the experience, whatever our experience is, and finding the kernels of love and truth in them and what we can do with that,
yeah, that's where I'm basically at, I think, yeah.
And I think that's a really big piece, and so much of is finding what is our higher purpose and how can we do something with it. What can we do to change the world, or little things. Like, I volunteered in the domestic violence arena for the last 15 years because, for me it was like I wasn't quite out there with my story of my own sexual abuse, but it was really easy to do the other work,
Right.
and stuff. But it's been critical. I am an advocate I believe in, I want to change the world. I want it a safe place. I want to end violence against women and children, period.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And whatever way I can do that. And so advocacy has been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And so I think service is really important. Just like, are you familiar with Eve Ensler? She wrote the Vagina Monologue.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay,
I've heard of that.
Monologue. Yeah. She was sexually abused as a child and suffered from, suicidal thoughts and alcoholism all throughout her life. And then she turned it around and she wrote about it and started this movement. She has this global movement.
Yeah, it's big time. I know that. Yeah.
The Vagina Monologue, she's talked to women around the world, and now she's got a new project called V-Girls, where she wants to give self-esteem to young girls. So
that's cool.
And she talks about, she said, why are we so afraid to talk about sex in this country,
Right.
and all these things, and that young girls and women need to take their power back.
Yeah,
That,
absolutely.
we haven't really accepted our true power and changed the world, and then we do, because every time you think about what's going on in Africa or some of these poor third world countries, you give the women some money to either buy goats so that they can, raise them, feed their kids, or start a little industry. They've changed their communities, so women are powerful.
Big time. Women, that's right. Women, without women in the community can't survive. That's a fact.
Right.
Women are the caregivers. They are the people that because the women, mainly rear and they have these babies that they bring them up, and they have to take care of them. So they're the caregivers, they're the caretakers, they are the people that are really the part of society that's needed to keep the whole society as a whole. They're without them it wouldn't work. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So you got people like that doing things. And there was one woman I interviewed a long time ago, and she had been sexually abused as a child, and so she started painting her stuff, and she went to prisons. And she met with abusers, and she showed them her artwork, and she said it was the most amazing thing, because these big burly guys would be there's tears pouring down their face.
Oh, no. Oh,
they understand
awesome.
what they had done.
Right.
So I admire people, how they've taken what they're doing, just like I admire you, having this radio show, creating your blog, because you took your experience and you're sharing it with the world and turning it around and making something positive. And my new saying is, I keep telling people, I don't do lemons into lemonade. I take cocoa beans and make rich, dark chocolate. So that's what you're doing, and I love it. And I am so proud to call you my friend now.
Oh, that's so awesome, Rae. I appreciate that big time. Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, I think back to mainly what made me want to write my story in the first place was my two brothers, and it's because they gave up. They gave up. They couldn't do it. They just could not hold on. And they both one committed suicide at the age of 33, and the other one died of a drug overdose at the age of 43. And he almost died when he was like 20. So I mean, he had been a drug user his whole life, since he was a young kid. And neither one of them could find what it took to hold on and to find some joy in this life, and some happiness, and some goodness, and some light, and some truth. And and I thought, man, this is so sad, because I know so many people out there who could be going through this, or who have been through this. And there's probably people out there obviously there's people out there that we don't know that are going through this right now. And I thought, man, if I can just be one more voice, one more voice just to reach out, like that was my main thing, was to be able to, because I've been there. I know what it's like, you know what I mean? And so, like most survivors, right, we understand it. So I thought, yeah, I can use my voice. If that's one thing that I do have, then that's what I can use to try to help people and to try to help myself, because not only does it help other people, it's very helpful for me, because it gives me a reason to, it gives me a purpose to say, oh, I got to get up, I got to do this, I got to do that. It keeps me focused, and it's very healing. It's a very healing thing to do, to help people. I want to, I enjoy people helping me.
Right.
I'm just as much to take a hand from somebody else who's trying to help me as I am to give a hand of help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love getting help from people, and so I just thought, I can't do much for people, but I can be a voice of encouragement for people to say, hang in there with whatever you have, whatever that thing is that's inside of you that says, I have to fight to stay here, I have to fight to heal, I have to fight to stay here, and keep trying every day. Then that's what I'm going to do. So it's so important for people to have people
find a way for them. I mean, it's something I think too, especially when you're depressed. If you can do one thing for somebody else, it really helps, and it could be a smile. Yeah. It's as simple as smiling at somebody else, even when you're feeling down. Or picking up the phone and calling. Gratitude, saying thank you, I appreciate you, little things like that. Just, you make their day and they make yours. It's when you do that, it's a blessing on both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
what we have to focus on, especially when you're in that state of such, pain and depression and you can't think about getting out. If you can think about just doing something for somebody else, I think it's really empowering.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it makes you feel good because it gives. It makes the other person feel good too. So then both people win. It's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win, and I think that's what happens so many times when people are in this state that, they're so down and they can't get it, and that's when like I said before, I did my gratitude list. I did wells, and if you start thinking about the other person, just think about being of service, it will help. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's right. And I think that's, because I can imagine so many people, I know so many people who have been there, and including myself, to where I'm standing in the mirror, just looking in the mirror and telling myself, I do deserve to be here. I do count. I mean, this was 3 years ago, but I'd be looking in the mirror going, here, we're going to say it again. We're going to say it again. I do count. I do matter, and I do love myself. Yes, I do. And I went through this day after day after day because I was like, I have to learn to love this little person inside of me that is so wounded. And I need to hug her, and I need to hold her. And so she's never been held. She's never been hugged. She's never been loved. And this is what my little inner child was screaming to me. I need this. I need this. And I finally learned how to do it. It took me a long, long time. It took me over 10 years, to figure it out. And
that's the other thing. I think your voice is wonderful because you're telling people it's not overnight. It's not instantaneous. It doesn't mean that, that it is a process. Recovery and healing is a process, and
that's right.
And if you can make it through the next day, I think that is part of the whole thing. And then you get to a point, hopefully, that you can actually start thinking about joy, and peace and harmony and all the other parts of your life that you haven't been able to focus on, the fun, the laughter, that it'll come through. But you have to get to that day.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to take that's right. And so in between that day, there could be a lot of days where you're just saying, okay, I'm going to get through today. I'm going to get through today. I'm going to get through today. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of it, is just realizing that, each day, you know what I mean? You just take another step forward, just another step. Eventually, if you keep reaching out and you keep looking for that hope, looking for what's going to work, looking for what's helpful, and looking to find that peace within yourself, because that's what I needed to do. It happens. So, I always like to tell people it didn't happen overnight. That's for sure. It didn't. And I don't know if there's ever been anybody that's ever happened to. I mean, maybe there has been, somewhere in history, but it didn't happen to me like that. Right. It wasn't overnight, And like you're saying, you've tried so many different things, and then you'd be on a plateau, and you'd plateau out, and then you'd have to try something else, and you'd be like, okay, no, I need to keep going. I need to go and try this now,
right.
And take it another step. And then get some healing from that and feel so much better from that, and then of course plateau again. And I think that's what happens, because I can sort of see that in my own journey just over the last 3.5 years, that there's been a periods of time where I felt like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I think, okay, maybe I'm just tired, and maybe I don't want to be too hard on myself. Maybe I just need to relax. And I do a lot of work. What I do is take a look. I kind of use a lot of like the coping lists and whatnot. I do a lot of grounding exercises. I do a lot of breathing exercises. That type of thing. Just what I learned for myself, like self-help stuff off of the web pages out there that are full of these self-help ideas for coping and whatnot, right? So if I find I'm having a hard time coping, I do.
And I've made lists of, I'll go on, online and get quotes that make about inner peace, about joy,
love.
That's awesome. I hang on to those. I'll carry them with me. I'll write them on 3x5 cards and put them in my wallet and my car. So when I'm having a tough day, you can do that. And to tell you, one of the things over the years, I have collected more affirmation tapes, the old CD, not the 4 CDs, the old little tapes that you plug in. And right. I have boxes under my bed, but I would listen to those because at night, going to sleep, I would listen to positive affirmation tapes. Louise Hay, Joan Borysenko, some of those kind of people. You're too young. I'm 60, so these are people not necessarily you would know. But But I would listen to those over and over again because I couldn't do it for myself. I couldn't say the right words. I couldn't get to that place. So I would use other people's words, voices, songs. If there were prayers I liked to listen to at night, they would be taped, or I'd tape them. I'd read them into a tape player, and I would just listen to them over and over again. I wouldn't get up in the morning without listening to one or going to bed because I really needed that. I needed those words. I couldn't muster it for myself for a really long time. I couldn't say, you're wonderful, I love you, all those things. And it's like, how do you get there? And that's so great because you're talking about how do you get there? Yeah. How do you change it and do it for yourself?
Yeah. That's right. Well, I had to start believing it, and I realized that just saying it wasn't going to be enough. And I thought, okay, if I sit here and I say, okay, I did not deserve what happened to me, I did not deserve that abuse, and I was a good kid, and I would go through all this stuff, and I'd be like, but I had to believe it inside, before it would really change the way I thought about myself. You know what I mean? And I did a lot of that. I spent quite a long time by myself. I didn't do a whole lot of socializing and I would just work and I'd come home, and I did that for a couple of years, and just besides seeing the odd person here and there, you know what I mean, and my sweetheart once a week or something, you know what I mean, it's very much on my own. And I did take the time to do it and work through it, and when I was feeling down or whatever, I'd just be like, no, you're not going back to that dark place. You're not going to go sit there and grow and surround yourself by that darkness, you know what I mean? You're just going to realize that you are a good person. You did not deserve that. So I'd have to talk to myself all the time. It's like, don't allow yourself to go back there. You're okay. You know what I mean? And I did a lot of that, a lot of work like that. And it did help. It did make a huge difference because now I don't go back to that place. Yeah. I haven't been back to that place since. So I guess, just by doing that, it allowed myself it freed me from having to go back there. I kind of thought that I was supposed to be sitting back there in the dark, I was so comfortable back there. I was so used to it. I think that's what happens to a lot of survivors. People who have experienced so many different things and so many horrific things and horrible things, heartbreaking things, if it's your life, it's your life and you're used to it. You know what I mean?
We don't know. This is the story we've told so many times to ourselves that we've created this pattern of we are the story rather than we have the ability to change it.
That's very true. And I was talking about that at my show this morning or yesterday maybe. Yeah, so true.
I think healing is a choice, and you have to make it every day. Yeah. I don't think it is automatic because you can sit in the same story and be the tragic victim for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
or you
my mom was. Yeah.
Move on, and be the adventurous romantic heroine or whatever it is, or the world peace ambassador. That's what I want to be. So,
yay! Okay, all right.
I'm rewriting my history. I'm gonna someday win an award for being a peace ambassador. I know
that is awesome. I wouldn't doubt that for a minute. I can see that.
I'm thinking big. I have a big vision, and I think that's awesome. And one of those things I'd love to talk about is how do you create that big vision for yourself? How do you even imagine getting beyond the pain to something more? That you deserve it, that you get there, and that you can even picture something. Because I think that's the part of hope that we don't always know. When you're in the middle of being the victim in that story, you don't know there's hope on the other side. So you start reading other people's memoirs, you get online, and then all of a sudden you can hear, oh, yeah, there is hope. There is hope, And I think we're both out there telling our stories for the same reason, because we want people to know there is hope and healing beyond where they are.
Yeah, that's right. That is right, and that's just so true. Because it's almost like when you're down in that despair or that depression or that that feeling of complete isolation that a lot of people feel that they are that they are in, right? You can't see clearly because it's like you were saying, like your eyes were misted over, like you were talking about earlier in the show when you were talking about the abuse that you suffered and you had gone through life and it seemed picture perfect. Everything looked great on the outside, but in the meantime, there you were walking with this mist around you, this mist covering your eyes. You just couldn't see clearly. And I think that's what happens to people who have suffered these types of things. And then it's hard to be able to kind of climb above that, to look around and say, no, I don't have to stay there. There's a whole world out here. I can do the best that I can with what I have and my abilities to go for my dreams. To first of all, to find out what that dream is and then go for it. And that's one thing I don't have a problem with, because like I know if you work towards something, even if I did a blog talk show not too long ago about this, and that was the fact that I'm always willing to try something, and quite often I fail, and but I don't sit and sort of wallow in my failures. I just let them go, and I'm like, okay, that didn't work. I failed on that. Okay, and I don't take it personal because you're not always going to succeed at everything that we try to do, So I think the best thing to do is just try things,
Right.
If we don't try, so in other words, we have to try to even heal. We have to try to learn to heal.
Right.
I mean, this works in every aspect of our life. We have to try to learn to trust. We have to try to learn to love. We have to try to go after our dreams. I mean, we have to try. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And so if you fail, well, then try again and try a different approach like you did. You tried all these different approaches. And I think that's just a huge word, to say to, we have to keep trying. We have to keep looking for
what is your choice, to give up or to try,
Yeah,
I mean, that's sort of it,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And unfortunately, there are too many people who've given up, and like I said, you and I are out there trying to tell you, keep trying. If one thing doesn't work for you, try something else,
Yeah, that's right.
I've tried, we barely touched the surface of what I've tried. I decided I should make a one-woman show talking about all the different things I've tried,
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I really do.
Oh, my God.
So helpful for people.
The list would be endless, and some of it is so funny when you think about it, It's like, oh, my God, and everything I've tried. There's some really strange little things I've tried out there.
Well, that's cool because this is what people need to know about it, because it just opens up their options, And we had Elizabeth here in the chat room, and she said it was a great show, and she's really happy to be here. She has to go now because she's going to go over and log in for Dreamcatchers Talk Radio. So she said, "Great show, ladies."
Oh,
so,
good, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
well, there's quite a few people in the chat room here, and they're really enjoying the show, so that's awesome. But
good. Can I give a plug if they're interested? Just for if you're looking for more information on me, and I have this free download with a mandala exercise on forgiveness and what I believe about forgiveness, and if you go to Survivor Solutions, it's SOULUTIONS.com, and there's this free download on forgiveness, and I'm hoping, the other thing is if you go in there and sign up, I'm hoping to get a blog going in the next week or two, and it's going to be Are You Brave Enough? And some days we are, some days we're not, and it's to try different modalities, and I'll be talking about that, but also I want to talk to survivors. I also want to talk to their partners. Are they willing to be, brave enough to be compassionate and listen and allow you to your journey, addressing some of their issues, and then also communities, because I believe that we have to change our community approach. It is a public health issue, and we aren't going to change it unless everybody buys into this and they speak out, take action, and put children first. That's
right. See, I like that, and I know when we had talked before on the phone, when you told me that, I was like, we are so on the same page. You know what I mean? And so a lot of the people that are sitting in the chat room here now are also advocates as well, like in Australia, and they're just like us, they're like, this has to change, and it has to change as a whole, society, communities, everyone. It's going to take, if we really want to see this work, it's going to take everyone's participation, you know what I mean? And
it does. And it's some of it's education and awareness, and other times it's like, okay, where are your priorities, and we have to be the ones to make put it in question,
That's right.
I've been doing some work in the faith-based community, and, clergy want to help, but they don't know what to do, they don't know what to say, they don't know how to talk and bring it up even at the pulpit, because then they feel like, if somebody divulges to me, now what? Because they don't know how to handle it. So they have to be given the resources and how and who to speak to, and the vocabulary. What do you say to somebody when they come?
Oh, I know.
And then you also have the issues because it's probably two people from their community, and what do you do? I'm speaking in terms of, say, domestic violence.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's beating the wife, and they're both in my congregation. What do I do?
How do you handle it? Well, we'll have to discuss that on another show. We have about a minute left, so we will, I know.
We could talk
have a minute left.
Hours, there's no question.
I know. Oh, we could talk for days, I bet. I'm so thankful that you could come on the show. Thank you so much, Rae. This has just been an awesome hour. And I know that, if you're more than welcome to come back again. And I know that Dreamcatchers, Talk Radio would love to have you there too as well. And I think, we're just so happy to have you. And I thank you for coming on my show. This is just awesome. And what a great time. And I hope that you can come back. And I would like to even just to do another show to talk about some of the things that you were talking about earlier. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
And the other thing is, if you go on Facebook at Rae Luskin, I actually put a lot of the different things that I've talked about, where I'll talk about dance and music and the roles, and I'll highlight some articles. So if you go there and befriend me, you can get some of that information as well. So.
That's right. And your website, one more time, is it www.survivorsolutions?
Yeah, Survivor Solutions, SOULUTIONS.
Okay, all right, that's good. That way people can get that again. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, that's just awesome, Rae. You have a great evening, and I hope to see you. I'd love to have you come back if you'd like to come back and we'll talk.
Back another time, and I know you have to run because you have another show.
Oh, yeah, but, that's fine. Elizabeth's over there getting ready, so that's all right. But thank you so much, Rae.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
I know you. I mean, and I applaud your work, and I admire the work you're doing.
That's awesome. Well, I admire the work that you're doing. You just helped me out immensely. I've got all my notes here. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, good. And if you have any questions or anybody does, they can just, get me at Rae@survivorsolutions.com. Just write me there. And it's Rae is R-A-E, by the way. So
that's right. Rae Luskin, Luskin. And, and they can... they can message us here, too, on Blog Talk Radio. So if anybody has any questions or comments, they can certainly send in a message, and I'll relay it to Rae. And if we do another show and Rae wants to come back, we'll make sure we open it up for comments and questions and whatnot. So we'll
good.
Yeah, try to get some more interaction from the audience here. So that'd be great. Thank you so much. You have a great night, and take care of yourselves, Rae.
Thank you.
And everybody else out there. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. And I'm going to end the show now. I've got to go over and get over to Dreamcatchers Talk Radio. But that was just such an awesome opportunity to talk to Rae, and such an honor, really, and a privilege to have her on the show. And I'm telling you, I have a whole page full of notes that I took from this show, and I hope it will help a lot of people to see that there's so much out there that we can do to try to help ourselves, to just to keep looking for what works and what's going to work for us to help us to heal, and so that we can enjoy this life, so we can have a good life, and so, we can, like Rae said, we can have joy, real joy, true joy in our hearts, right, and in our lives, right. So thank you so much for everyone who's going to be listening to the archive. I really appreciate you being here and tuning in. You can download the show within about a half an hour after the show is over. It should pop up there on blogtalkradio.com, www.blogtalkradio.com/LAURIE-Smith, that's my name, /Laurie, LAURIE-Smith, and you can download that, and it should be available within about half an hour to an hour. Thanks, everybody. Take good care of yourselves. Remember, do not ever, ever, ever give up. That is never an option. Contact somebody. Call a crisis line. Make a phone call. Do not suffer in silence, and never, ever, ever give up. Suicide is not the answer, and it's never, never the answer. I'm here to tell you, and there's so many people that I know who have made it and did not commit suicide. They're here today, and they're with me, and they're in my life, and they're trying to get the word out to other people too. Not that it's never the answer, and we're so happy to be able to be here to just tell you that. So make sure you do reach out and get some help. Okay, have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.